Join the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Melanie's done a great job on organizing this thing. I'm sure she's informed all of you how all this works. So she's going to...
Yeah, I've got a few instructions here that we'll just go over for our audience and so that everybody knows we're all on the same page. So let's see here. First of all, thank you all for coming this morning and for applying for the vacancy on our board. Let's see, the agenda today includes all of the candidates' names as well as your interview times. So hopefully there's no question there. We ran a notice of vacancy that was published in the Tribune on Friday, May 22nd, and online the week of May 25th, with the deadline to apply by Tuesday, June 2nd. We had 9 candidates apply, submitting a letter of interest and a resume, which the board has been reviewing since June 4th, as we're giving to them on the 4th. 1 candidate has withdrawn from the process, so the board will interview 8 candidates today. The entire interview process will be handled in open session, so all of you will be able to participate fully. Each candidate will be asked to provide a 2-minute opening statement. So once that's done, it'll be followed by 2 questions. You'll have a 2-minute time limit, which will apply to each question. The questions have been provided to each candidate ahead of time, so hopefully you received those and had those. They were emailed out. Once the interviews are complete, the board may...
Where were you?
Okay. That's the other problem with this. Sometimes people forget that they're unmuted, and kids come in the room and the dog barks.
It keeps it interesting.
So, Chris, I have to mute everybody, so you'll have to unmute yourself again when you need to talk.
Okay.
Okay, so again, once interviews are complete, the board of directors may appoint a candidate by ballot vote. Ballots will be cast by each board member. In an event a majority vote is not reached, any candidate who receives 0 votes shall not be included on subsequent ballots. Voting will continue until 1 candidate receives a majority of votes. So that's how the selection will be made. The appointed candidate will then take their oath of office at the regular board meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 18th at 2 p.m. The appointed board member will remain in office through December 4th of 2020. And the appointed board member may rerun for election on November 3rd, 2020. So are there any questions with that process so far? If not, when it's your turn for your interview, we ask that you come to the podium and the board members will ask the questions. You'll give your 2-minute opening statement, they'll ask the questions, and then you'll be given an opportunity to add anything else you might like. Any questions on that?
Melanie, one more thing. This is an open meeting, so I forgot are there any comments from the audience on non-agenda items? Well, the audience is you folks, without that. So I just had to throw that out there. It's on the agenda.
Okay, so I think with that, we are ready to proceed. And the first candidate we have is Daniel Gill, which I understand goes by Dan.
Now, is this live? Yeah, it is. Thanks. First, by the way, please, so she can get some face recognition. I know some of you in the audience I know. So, I'm Dan Gill. Glad to know all of you if I haven't met you personally. Also, please, if you would excuse the hat of this terrible case of COVID hair. Without this hat, I look like some sort of a rat that just crawled out of the sewer. Anyway, short introduction. I'm Dan Gill. I've lived in this area for about 30 years. Now, if you know much about skiing, you probably know that the first guy out of the gate has a huge disadvantage, but I'm going to just go for it. I'm hoping everybody's read my ever so brief, condensed 1-page resume. I currently live in the Meadow Lakes area. In fact, my immediate neighbor is Rob Tucker, 3 houses away, Scott Ferguson. I should also say, by the way, one of the things I did for homework, I looked at the last board meeting, a week ago today, where you came up with rules and so on and so forth. And as of June, that was the meeting of June 4th, as of the afternoon of June 9th, that was 2 days ago, it's posted on YouTube. And of course, there's a rolling total of the number of views. The number of views at that point was 1. It was me. I was kind of astounded. I expected to see nothing less than 9 views, or maybe 9 plus 5, but 1 view, it was me. I think almost everything else, if you have read my resume, the significance is there, so please pepper me with questions now if you'd like.
Okay, well, we'll just start with question number 1. Now, why are you seeking this interim board appointment?
Okay, let's roll with my answer to question 1. Obviously, it's about the exciting meetings. If it wasn't for the excitement of the meetings, yeah, I wouldn't think that. I should say, I think it was 3 years ago, I went through the city of South Lake Tahoe's well-known Citizens Academy. And in fact, Dwayne, your wife was in that same class with me at the time. And I learned a little bit about most of the departments of our city government, even though I actually lived in a county area. And I was also aware beforehand that the water district was distinct from city government. That's not the case in most places in California, apparently, but we are a distinct board. Now, one of the things I think, after looking at the background of a lot of the members, the previous members, excuse me, you don't have accountants on board. I think that you should have accountants at a minimum as one of your board members. And again, if you've read the resume, when I lived in Brooklyn, Connecticut, I served on the landfill and recycling committee that took care of one of only 4 landfills in the state of Connecticut. And routinely, we'd get information from the monitoring wells that surrounded the landfill, and nobody else seemed to understand, for example, why dichlorocarbon or methane would come up in the monitoring wells. It's because it's the blowing agent for the old type of styrofoam. Nobody else seemed to know it to figure out where it came from. So also, one of the things about our board here and the city in general, we have a lot of recycled members. And recycling's good. I have no complaint with this, but this is a chance for some of you to add somebody new to the board. There are duties of citizenship, such as voting, jury duty service, registering for the draft, and volunteering. And that's what I'd like to do. I hope that was less than 2.
We're going to not be super strict on the time. We had a candidate drop out, so we only put that in there in case we found someone that wanted to filibuster.
Okay.
So if that's, if you're done with that question, I will go on to number 2. What goals do you have in the district, and how do you see yourself advancing them?
Thanks for asking. I have several quasi goals that I'd like to see for our district, but I'll just like to focus on one here today. One of the things that's really in the forefront, everybody's thinking about it, is the danger from catastrophic fire here in the valley. And I realize that we're definitely working, mostly because of Jim's urging. We're working on upgrading the system, being prepared for a major fire, and dealing with it, because of course a major fire could sweep this valley this fall. There's another thing that could bother us that would actually be worse. It could come tomorrow morning. That would be a Richter level 8 earthquake. Now, typically, with major earthquakes, you sever the gas lines. Power lines come down. We live in the forest, and you have a fire, you have ignitions all over town. The other thing that an earthquake does is it severs all the water mains. So with no water pressure, no supply, fighting fires becomes almost impossible. Most earthquakes, most of the damage comes from fire afterwards. I'm not sure what it would take, but I think some plan for this should be implemented. It would probably require an engineering program to think about some kind of redundancy, ways of isolating certain parts of the system, ways of gaining additional volume and pressure with additional storage. But I think it's something that should be considered, because a catastrophic fire after an earthquake, when we've had damage to our infrastructure, could be a much more serious problem than people realize. And in the honor of the 6 minutes I got total, I'll stop there for now. If you want to question me further, please do.
Nick and Chris, you guys still out there?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Star 6 to unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Let me put it to you. Do you have any questions of at least Kelly and I?
Okay, my other goal, of course, is to make the meetings more exciting, but I'm sure you figure that out. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, next up we have Margie Maxheimer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I prepared my speech to talk for 6 minutes, but so I don't really have an introduction. I was going to tell you about myself while I answered the questions.
Okay, sure.
You can ask me the first question, I can answer.
First question up. Why are you seeking this intern board appointment?
3 reasons. I have the time, I have the skill sets, and I can offer a different perspective. Time. I closed my retail stores last fall. I retired from my 7-year accounting job in May. Our kids are grown. They live in Boulder and San Luis Obispo. Max, my husband, who worked here for 44 years, he wanted me to make sure and say that, has been retired from the district for over 2 years. He still runs a number of South Shore water companies, so we're still very involved in water. And we get emails from the Department of Environmental Health all the time. Right now, those emails are about flushing buildings because they sat empty for 3 months, and you can't just turn the water on and expect everything to be beautiful. It doesn't quite happen that way. My skill sets: I ran a multi-million-dollar business for several years. I faced eminent domain twice. I had to work with lawyers, I had to face lawyers, and I had to talk to a lot of judges. We had over 40 employees. I had to deal with cash flow, budgeting, predicting the future, and forecasting. I've sat on boards in the community for many years, like the Kiwanis Club of Lake Tahoe. I've had many different roles there, and I've sat as treasurer for the last 10 years. Tahoe Turning Point and the Eldorado Community Foundation. At the moment, I'm the trustee for the Myers Library Trust. I know procedural rules. I can get along with the board, and I can work with you to reach a common goal. I don't ever feel the need to pontificate, and I don't know everything, so I ask questions. My different perspective is, as I've learned from my husband of 26 years, the nitty-gritty of the district. I can hit the ground running with the terminology as I've learned it over the years. For example, when you talk about the Big Five, I know you're talking about sewer stations, and those aren't the only ones. There's Luther Pass, and there's at least 30 others, and that's just the sewer side. There's water as well, which each station has at least 2 pumps in it. Other terms that matter are influent and effluent and knowing the difference, wet wells, check valves, pump stations, plant operations, and heavy maintenance and how those two fit together. The field crews of underground water, underground sewer, and pump crew. The lab, how it services our community as well as our needs. The office being the front line for our ratepayers, questions, needs, and concerns. Their bills, their water leaks, and generally, why isn't the water coming out of my faucet? And why is my toilet not flushing? The engineers are the integral part of our future and our troubleshooting. That's the end of that question.
That was very well thought out. So what goals do you have for the district, and how do you see yourself advancing them?
Okay, public awareness. For those not so flushable wipes, now the ubiquitous disinfecting cloths that everybody's using and rubber gloves are showing up in our system at a rampant rate. We need top of mind for what doesn't go in our sewer, just like we have top of mind for what day to water. People may not know what day they can water, but they know there's rules out there and that they have to look it up and figure out what days they can and cannot water. We need that for our sewer as well. We can educate kids at the elementary school level. They love to talk about this kind of thing. Go to the farmer's market with informational videos that can be used also for social media. Work with Choices for Children, and the Family Resource Center, where they hand these things out for free. Install trap text filters in toilets in commercial buildings. And it'd be really nice in the lodging, in large lodging things too. Trap text filters catch these things before they hit our sewer line. They installed these at the hospital 2 years ago because they were having so much trouble with that stuff ending up in their pumps that were moving their sewage to our system. Catch it before it hits our system. Then, not so many problems with check valves and pumps. The newer pumps with grinders are great, but then they chew that stuff up. And you have to think what happens when it comes to the plant. The plant then has to filter all that particulate out before it goes out into our environment. Infrastructure replacement. We need to face it. Our stuff is old and hard to find parts for repairing. You have laid out good plans for the next 10 years, but we need to be able to fund it. In 07-08, the financial meltdown caused big problems for property tax decline. Property tax is what funds the fire departments and the police departments. So there were big shortfalls in their budgets. The federal government stepped in with safer grants to shore that up. I believe that the federal government is going to step up with grants and low interest loans more than they already have. Because they'll want to keep people working and they'll want to have the economy moving just like our sewer needs to. Finally, I'm interested in water and sewer. You might ask why sewer? Because we all live in the Lake Tahoe Basin and our lake depends on, we don't have a sewer spill, our economy depends on it, and frankly, all of our livelihoods depend on no sewer spills. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I run a ranch. My husband didn't want me to say this, but I have to. I run a ranch in South Dakota. I grew up in South Dakota. So I read Cattle Business Weekly.
Yeah.
That keeps me up to date on what cattle prices are, and also how much alfalfa is selling for.
Okay, well, we definitely saw that.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Margie. Next, we have Mikey Garland.
Hello, thanks. I'm Mikey Gerlin. My little opening statement is more about me, being a Tahoe local, being born and raised here, skiing at Sierra, Heavenly, Kirkwood basically my whole entire life. Graduated from South Lake Tahoe High School, where I explored woodworking and art as one of my major passions. I relocated to Southern California to attend college for graphic design. Upon moving back to Tahoe, I worked at Yellow Pager Cellular for a matter of years, serving the community. And it was there that I learned to interact with customers and take care of the customer first. That was a major part of that position. I honed my skills there and kind of developed this desire for community involvement and enthusiasm for it. I took classes at LPCC, worked winters at Heavenly, and volunteered at Sierra Community Church, serving our long-term residents, our future residents, and our tourists. It evoked that desire and enthusiasm even more to be a part of this community and its future. I then was given the opportunity to practice architecture with Sudan Design and Draft. As a draftsman, I discovered my passion for architecture, combining both my talent for design and attention to detail in a very practical way. I started completing projects on time, on budget, in order to bring projects to life. I now proudly work alongside our town's engineers, architects, surveyors, and our many agencies that we have to deal with here. I've completed over 250 projects in the span of my short career, and I've become very familiar with the processes and those interactions that have to take place with those agencies in order to get things done. I've started my own company, Core Design, where I've evolved into all of the above: project designer, project manager, and project planner. That's my opening.
Okay. So why are you seeking this interim board appointment?
The opportunity kind of appeals to me just because I can further contribute to this town that I've been born and raised in and I love so much. I chose to start my family here, raise my children here, and operate a business. The value I bring to this position is the knowledge of the city's needs and its intricate policies with the overlapping jurisdictions. As a responsible community member, I feel like I should use my skills and training alongside the district to further their goals and initiatives. I see this as an opportunity to better integrate myself with the community and its long-term goals. Involved with development decisions and future projects seems like a logical way to further that desire to be a part of this community. I've invested my time in around this community and developed a company focused around the treasure that we live in. This board appointment will not only give me an opportunity, but the proverbial foot in the door for lifelong involvement in community improvements and preservation. Through maintenance projects, upgrades, and existing infrastructure to further the goals of SDQD, and that being to furnish customers with reliable water, wastewater services, and provide those services safely, efficiently, and cost effectively. I may not have as much expansive knowledge of the town as a lot of other candidates do, but I do learn quickly and adapt efficiently. For lack of a better word, I feel like new blood on this board would be valuable asset to you guys and the town.
Okay, so I heard you mention goals. So what goals do you have for the district? How do you see advancing them?
I think one of my primary goals, going back to one of my very first TEAS meetings, Tahoe Engineers, Architects, and Surveyors, John Keel, you spoke in 2014 about the ever-decaying lines in all the neighborhoods and how many people are serviced by those lines. And more recently, in 2019, you did another slideshow presentation at Steamers, kind of you showed a slideshow of decaying lines and how if we would have caught it sooner, we would have saved an exponential amount of money. So further involving through the process of procurement of grants and things like that, we should focus on investing in keeping up with that infrastructure and further developing that before the problems arise. Also, in line with that, we should involve more energy efficient systems and implementation of more technology to know these issues before they potentially arise. Second goal would be to try to further integrate the multiple jurisdictions that we work with. The city and the county both take in plans differently as far as getting the SCPD approvals. And I feel like that's something that's pretty logical that should be cohesive and simple to accomplish. Both the city and multiple other agencies are switching to a digital submittal in light of this COVID stuff. So I don't feel like the district should be a hindrance in that process. It should come alongside with that, whether that's integrating an employee at the city or at the county to be more aware of how SDPD wants to see things and keep that process moving smoother. Also, the deferment, at least in the city, the deferment of the hookup fees for sometimes plan check takes a long time. So people are putting up this large investment in plan check that take up to 6 months for residential construction anyway. So further integrating that process with SDPD, maybe it's somebody there, maybe it's just simpler to do here to get that digital submittal done and stamped all digitally. Also saving paper for the environment.
Very good. Anything else you'd like to add? No? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming, Mikey.
Thank you, Mikey. Next up, we have Jennifer Peterson.
Morning. My name is Jennifer Peterson, and I want to thank you for considering me for this interim board appointment. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Los Angeles, and then I did my undergraduate work at UC Santa Barbara, where I got a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. After graduation, I went to San Francisco to law school at Golden Gate University School of Law. I was admitted to the state bar in December of 2000, and I've been practicing law for almost 20 years. During that time, I've worked on all types of cases, different subject matter. I've done transactional work and advised clients on a variety of different things. I spent the first 7 years of my practice in San Francisco working at different firms, mostly small firms. By 2007, after living in San Francisco for nearly a decade, my husband and I were ready to relocate to South of Tahoe, where we had bought a house in 2005. And in 2008, we became full-time Tahoe residents, and we've completely fallen in love with this community. Not just the beauty of it, but the way of life and the small-town vibe. We now have 2 kids, ages 6 and 10, and we're in it for the long haul. Since 2010, I've been a counsel at the local law firm, and I handle all of their civil matters. I also have my own law practice at the law office of Jennifer Peterson, and most of the cases that I work on come from former clients, friends, and referrals. I also have my real estate broker's license, and I do real estate part-time as well. I'm seeking this appointment. Should I just go on? And
I think by now we can figure it out what the questions are.
Okay. I'm seeking this appointment because I really enjoy being part of a board. I'm currently on the board of the Boys and Girls Club of Lake Tahoe, and I've been a board member since February of 2015, and that's really been a wonderful experience. I love the exchange of ideas and just all of us being united by a common goal and working together to further the interests of the club and serve our community. And I'm drawn to this board because I think that it also serves a critical need in our community. We all need clean water, we need reliable sewer systems, and I want to be part of the discussion of how to advance the goals of the district, both in the short term and long term. I like the sharing of ideas, the respectful dialogue, really taking into account different perspectives and different backgrounds, and so that we can all come together to reach consensus on prioritizing needs and how we're going to meet those goals and serve those needs. I think that some of the immediate goals for the district are, how to deal with how COVID-19 has impacted our community, both individuals and small businesses. We need to find a way to provide some financial relief to those that have been affected, but do it in an equitable manner that's going to really help the people who need it the most. I know that there's an issue with contamination, PCE contamination in the Lupins wells. It's something that we need to address because that's affecting our community, and the district is going to need to be involved in how to deal with that, mitigate that. We also need to deal with the fire suppression system expansion because of the fires up here, and I know that that's something that the district's been working towards. In the long term, we need to update our infrastructure. As we know, the pipes are old, they're steel, and we need to find ways to provide for making those upgrades while still operating within the budget. I think that planning now will avoid long-term issues in the future, and we can control the cost of upgrading if we do it now and thoughtfully rather than waiting until there's a crisis and an emergency, because then we won't be able to control the costs and we won't be able to foresee the damages. And I think that by planning now and investing those resources, we will be able to have a better result because we can have more control over it. I think I bring a unique perspective because I have advised clients for years about risk management. I am always taking into account different perspectives, different arguments. I know that in order to get things done, you need to work together. You need to find ways to prioritize and work in the best interest of getting to the result that you ultimately want. And not everyone's going to get everything that they want all the time, but that's why I think it's important to work as a board to come together and decide what the priorities are going to be, how we're going to reach those goals, and how we're going to do it by staying in budget. I also like the ideas that the board is focusing on now in terms of future planning and collaborating with other agencies with the solar plans, and I'd like to explore more of that, more working together with other agencies where we can invest and share the cost of the investment instead of just bearing it all on the board, on the district, but working together with other agencies that also have future needs that need to be addressed. I think that's very wise. And I think that it would be a great way to serve the community, and I would love to be part of this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Next we have Shane Ramos.
Good morning, and thank you very much. My name is Shane Ramos, and I appreciate the opportunity to submit my application for director seat. I'm a senior research scientist with a company called Spatial Informatics Group, and we conduct innovative natural resources and environmental research. My background is in natural resources planning, management, monitoring, research, and policy. I've worked in the public, private, nonprofit, and academic sectors. I'm a longtime resident of South Lake Tahoe. Most of my 29-year career has played out here in South Lake Tahoe. Although my experience doesn't not match exactly that experience of Jim Jones, I'd like to think that my technical knowledge and my professional and community relationships will help to round out the diversity of skill sets already represented here on the board. As a board member, I promise to be a good listener, to be objective, to be pragmatic, to be constructive, to be consensus-seeking, and put in the work that's required to fulfill the duties of a board member. I also promise to represent our district customers. As a decision maker, I seek opportunities for the district to improve environmental quality, quality of life, and economic vitality for the community of South Lake Tahoe. And I guess just let me kick right into the
You're on a roll.
Right. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of when I'm seeking this appointment. It's really basically to more directly serve our community, and in terms of goals, and how I might go about advancing them. I have 6 goals kind of laid out here. Hopefully, you have patience here to kind of walk through those with me. But the first goal is really to continue the delivery of high-quality drinking water. And continue to treat wastewater with an eye on ensuring the system's integrity. And without going about that is, again, continuing to support staff's recommendation for systems upgrades, maintenance of the system at higher locations. Goal number 2 is to keep customer rates affordable. And the way you go about that is really supporting investment in energy efficiencies and renewables, support opportunities to improve staff efficiencies, support staff's pursuit of alternative revenue sources, for example, seeking grants or fees for treated water, that kind of stuff. And then also identifying opportunities for cost sharing with other basin governmental agencies. Goal number 3 is to strive to achieve carbon neutrality or 100% renewable energy to fuel the district's operations ahead of state mandated targets. And there's a lot of opportunity there in terms of pursuing green infrastructure grants or no or low interest loans, support leveraging partnerships for cost sharing with organizations like Liberty Utilities or even the city. Maybe look into maybe an opt-in or opt-out customer fee for renewable initiatives and infrastructure. Support project designs that integrate efficiencies and my 4th goal is to maximize the value and reuse of treated water. And here I would support the development of a master plan for treated wastewater and master planning for the Diamond Valley Ranch property. And then again, supporting alternative revenue sources, maybe for retreated water. Goal 5 is really to reduce asset vulnerabilities to wildfire and the effects of climate change. And again, as a board member, I go about supporting project designs that integrate resiliency, FEMA grants, support partnerships with Forest Service, CTC, Liberty Utilities, those other agencies that are more directly involved with fuel treatment to reduce wildfire threat. And my final goal as a board member is to identify opportunities to support the community's economy and quality of life, and going about that through prioritizing locals for contracting and finding ways to open the district properties to the public access. So in closing, I ask the board to select me to serve as the interim director for number 2. I promise to represent our district customers well, and I commit to the district's board, staff, customers, to put the work needed in to fulfill the requirements of the job.
Thank you, Shane. Next up is Eric Schaefer.
morning to all and other applicants. Feels like I've done this before. Brevity was one of the hallmarks of me as a board member, and I would continue to practice that in respect for the valuable time of others, and even today. I first became a Tahoe resident in 1964 when my parents retired here and I was going to college. I had been a permanent resident since 1986, say the 16-month sojourn to Arizona, which was the reason for me leaving the board in the first place in 2014. I have a long history of community involvement in historical and civic organizations. I was on the school board for 12 years, and then the stupid board from 2001 to 2014. Ironically, I was the last person to go through the appointment process in 2001, when another board member had to leave the board, they had to resign. I'm a consensus builder. I listen carefully to the divergent views of our ratepayers, staff, and other board members to promote reasonable and prudent solutions and compromises to many issues that come before the board. I work well with other board members and other community organizations. I understand the role of a board member and do not try to micromanage staff. I am in a good health and able to undertake any challenges of a board member. That's my opening. As far as why I am seeking this appointment, while I don't have the engineering background and institutional knowledge of the district that my good friend Jim Jones represented, I am conversant with all facets of the district's operation and can provide a relatively seamless transition onto the board. I require no learning curve. Events so far in 2020, the coronavirus pandemic and civic unrest that we are experiencing, make it imperative for public boards like Stupid to understand and seek the best financing available to accomplish our infrastructure goals. I work in the financial industry as a tax preparer and can provide meaningful input to the board's budget deliberations. During my previous board service, I became board liaison to CASA and would hope, that's the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, for any who don't know, and I would hope it's elected to reestablish that collection. I believe strongly in our involvement helps to the industry promote positive regulatory changes at the federal and California levels. Current issues include permitting, waters of the U.S. designations, technological mandates, and compliance. I think you would understand that Stupid is held in very high regard in ACWA and CASA for their not only involvement, but for the things the district does, which others look at as very positive management of a wastewater and water facility. I have no job or other community involvements that would prohibit me from full participation in any capacity as a board member. If appointed, my level of commitment is unwavering. I can easily manage my tax practice around every time commitment required as a board member. My goals for the district: first and foremost, is to continue providing top quality water and wastewater services. Top quality is evidenced by awards for best operating plan in the country 2 times, and high-level awards for financial reporting, information technology, and transparency. I think we would have a very high priority in finishing the project to provide fire flow to all hydrants in all areas in the town. Secondly, the district must maintain financial stability. I believe, and I said this at the first time when I was interviewed in 2001, that smaller, consistent rate increases To balance the district budget needs with community capabilities are the way we should be doing things in order to avoid a catastrophic increase when something bad happens or when we have situations like we're in now. I believe we need to pursue and invest in technological advancements that will enhance operations and provide monetary payback. We certainly need to continue our grant program, which has provided millions of dollars of funds to help finance the community's infrastructure improvements. We need to keep our ratepayers and community engaged in the district's activities through an ongoing public relations program. Obviously, it needs to be something beyond YouTube. We need to continue encouraging staff to broaden and improve their job skills to maintain the excellent competency of our employees. And lastly, I worked as an auditor and in community involvement and observed management of numerous public and private enterprises. I have said publicly and privately that STPUD is among the very best managed businesses I have seen. I was proud to be a part of that for 14 years and would like to continue being a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Up next, we have Dwayne Wallace.
Good morning, board. Thank you for having me here. My car has seen this parking lot many times. It's nice to have actually come back and see you in person. My car gets about 40 days per gallon right now. Then my opening statement is to talk about if I were you and I were trying to select somebody, what would the boxes be that I needed checked? And I think the first one would be, as a long-term resident, somebody that we know, because the choice here today is between some excellent unknown candidates and hopefully an excellent known candidate. I've lived here 46 years, so check that box. Knows where the district has been. I studied the district before I was elected, but I was elected in 1990 and served for 20 years. Been to over 1,000 meetings. Knows the district staff, hierarchy, and corporate culture. I've known and had relationships with and friendships with the last 4 general managers and was a part of hiring your excellent GM, John Teal. Knows the district finances. I was on the district finance committee, chosen by the board to do that for 20 years. I pushed to hire the grant administrator and supported the grant administrator's efforts by using contacts in Washington and the state to help get us grants. Understands the challenges of an aging district. I voted for implementing the asset management program. I have good friends and contacts, as I said, at the state, helping us get millions that have augmented the district's budget, which is something individuals might need to do. Knows the district's partners and environmental watchdogs. I was on the El Dorado County Water Agency Board, actually served for 6 months as the interim general manager of that board, worked with the EPA, the U.S. Forest Service, Lahontan, the League, the city, and TRPA, and was a steadfast part of the MTBE lawsuit that helped stabilize district finances. Somebody who understands the fragile environment we live in. I helped start the first and many subsequent presidential summits in Lake Tahoe, as well as participated in the writing of the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act. Additionally, I was selected by Greenpeace to be a televised speaker on the economy and the environment in Moscow, Irkutsk, and Lake Baikal. And I was, both times I was board president when our staff earned the #1 utility district in the United States. Somebody who understands the business environment. I've been the chamber CEO for 14 years of 2 different chambers. I'm in constant contact with the businesses and the people of the community. And I was fortunate enough to be the founding member of quite a few different organizations. For instance, the Clean Tahoe program, Boys and Girls Club, let's see what else. the Lake Tahoe Education Foundation, and I was a school board member as well. Able to work with boards. I've been the CEO of a chamber of Boys and Girls Clubs of El Dorado County. I was on the school board, and I was on this school board, or on this board. And the main thing is, can the person that checks this box hit the ground running? Is there a compatibility with other board members? And is there a respectful attitude towards other board members? Electable. I was elected 5 times and was the next highest vote getter in the last election. And if appointed, I will vigorously run. That's the boxes that I would probably check if I were sitting in your seat. Why I'm seeking this appointment. I first learned about the district in 1972 as a college student at Columbia College. So I happened to move here in 1974 to open a steakhouse that I had for 16 years, and then another in Carson City for 10 years. My good friends John Wen and Jim Jones had been district board members. And in the late 80s, they started encouraging me to run. In 1990, they convinced me to run. And since being elected to the South Tahoe Public Utility District, it's become my family. It feels like family to me. I've been to over 1,000 meetings, as I said, maybe more. I understand where the district has been. I understand where the district needs to go. And it's important for the appointed person to seamlessly fit into the culture of the district. I believe I'm that person. The district has had to piece together small, independent water companies with little 1-inch lines and galvanized pipe, and it's also had to meet the Port of Cologne Water Quality Act. I've had the honor and privilege of standing shoulder to shoulder with the staff and board as we won the Miracle at Kings Beach, won the MTBE battle in court, and have consistently won the battle against storms, floods, leaks, and spills for all these years. And I helped get millions from Washington, D.C., including being involved in the very start of the summit, as I mentioned. I would be honored to serve with you. My overall philosophy is that the board is the what and the staff is the how. The board should hire the best people, and that's the GM. Give them clear overall goals and tools. Give them the things they need to accomplish the goals. And the best way to sum it up is that each board member should do their best to lead the district in better shape than when they arrived. And that's my commitment. If you don't mind, I'll do the goals. Finances. My goal is to strike the right balance. It's the almighty dollar that drives everything. It determines staff levels, equipment purchases, repairs of the current systems, which projects will be scheduled. It also depends on the ability of the community to pay the freight. What is that balance? I believe it was there until this pandemic. My goal is to work with the staff and the board to determine what the new revenue stream will be, and to determine the public's ability to continue to pay that. And then live within our means, and then find as many state grants and federal funds as possible. Go begging for money, I guess would be the deal. Operations. I believe that we should continue with the asset management program, continue to purchase equipment that helps us TV the lines so that we know the health of our system. I think it's just absolutely of the utmost importance that we have water pressure to put out fires. And we need to prioritize our construction schedule in light of the new finances in order to do first things first. Personnel, as I said, hire the best people we can. That's the GM. Foster a good corporate culture. It's so important that an organization have that culture, and it starts with the board. Seek diversity for strength of the organization. Give the staff good, understandable, achievable directions. Give them the tools they need to do the work, as I said before. Don't micromanage. And once again, the board is the what, the staff is the how. When it comes to the environment, I believe that we need to continue to be one of the handful of districts in the entire world that are 100% recycled. Continue to be, in the words of Dr. Goldman, the most important thing that ever happened to protect Lake Tahoe. Under public relations, I believe that we need to make sure through open meetings and through our district information officer and our GM and our board president to reach out by getting to as many community venues as possible with our district message. In our policies, we need to continue to be consistent, predictable, and fair, as my good friend Chris Strome used to say. In our ethics and voting, we need to follow the Brown Act and vote how we think that the public would vote if they knew what we know. I believe that covers it. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. We did have Eric Parks on the schedule for next, but he is withdrawn from the process. So we have Dave Peterson, which will be last, but certainly not least.
Good morning, board members, staff, and ratepayers. My name is Dave Peterson. I'm a civil engineer specializing in water resources. I've been in private practice since 1983 and worked for a number of firms. In 2005, started up my own company with a partner, and we've employed between 10 and 15 people ever since. So I have that startup business background as well as the technical background in your business. I guess to say things simply, my business is your business. I understand it very well. I'm not new to Tahoe by any means. We moved here about the same time that Eric did, about 1965. My father was a veterinarian in town, started up Alpine Animal Hospital out on Highway 89, and we lived down in the Keys, raised for Heavenly Valley and all those things. So anyway, I grew up here and fortunate to be able to retire here. In April of this year, I sold my stock in my company and retired. So I now have the time to be able to dedicate to something like this. I was actually a board member on a major water district down in the Sacramento area for I was appointed in the same type of a proceeding originally, and then I ran and was selected by the ratepayers 3 times for that board. I didn't run for it because it became too much. It was running a business, and I could not give my role on the water district fair shake, so I let that seat go. But now I'm retired, and I can reinvest in the community this way. And I guess to answer your first question, why? It's because now I can do this. It's something that I've been invested in this, in providing utility service to the public for my entire career. That's what I'm all about, and now I can devote the time to a board position. I think this board can, I knew Jim Jones because in my former board position, I was on Aqua's board as well, and served, went to Aqua all the time, and I would see Jim Jones down there. We had some great discussions, but Jim provided a technical resource to the board, and I think a board that functions well has a number of expertises, and if that's the word, a number of fields of expertise, and board members that are working together well rely on each other's expertise when that is important. And so it's good to have somebody on the board who understands water and wastewater business and understands resource management. And I could fulfill that role on this board, similar to what Jim did. Now, that doesn't mean I would micromanage. I share Mr. Wallace and Eric's views on micromanagement. I've sat on a board for many years, and understanding the business doesn't mean you question every technical decision or recommendation coming before you. But if you can understand it, you know whether you're talking about a reasonable fiscal investment decision. And so I think that's helpful to have on a board. My agenda as a board member is really not very complicated. It's water and wastewater service is a critical and fundamental need for mankind and for society. And it happens behind the scenes for most people. You ask people what happens when you flush the toilet, they say, I don't know, I don't care. I really don't want to know. Let's not talk about this. And a good functioning agency, that is how you operate. It's when you have a failure, and like a few years ago down in Keys Boulevard, Venice Drive, there was a sewer failure down there. It was terrible. And it was difficult to fix, and cost a lot of money to fix, and you're all very aware of that. And it was right there in the public eye. So that, if you can stay out of the public eye, you're doing your job well. So service reliability is a goal of mine, to keep this critical infrastructure operating and serviceable, and not kicking the can down the road so that you have these catastrophic failures that are a problem. Good resource stewardship is really important as well. By that I mean making sure there's always a water supply, making sure it doesn't get contaminated. If it is contaminated, dealing with it. I know you have the MTBE issue. In a small world story here, I actually was an expert on a groundwater contamination case down in Fresno. It was DBCP was the contaminant, and the lawyer for that was Wayne Mills, who also represented you guys, as I understand it, in the MTBE case. So we have that common background. But the resource stewardship to manage resources, make sure the wastewater, limit or eliminate wastewater spills, and good reuse of the water and efficient use of the water. So service reliability, resource stewardship, and then lastly, fiscal responsibility. And I don't mean minimizing rates, I mean making good fiscal decisions. The benefits should exceed the costs in all major decisions, but you need to be looking long-term and spending in the right manner so that you're not prolonging a real problem. And I served on the finance committee of San Juan Water District, and I also served on the finance committee for Aqua. I was the treasurer. I was on the board of an HOA, believe it or not, it's horrible. But I was the treasurer for many years. So I understand from my own company's experience and running the books there, and then the finance committees on these various agencies. I understand budgeting, I understand spending, and I understand the role of the board in fiscal oversight. And somebody's got to be kind of watching the store on behalf of the ratepayers, and that's why they need board members. The staff does the heavy lifting, but the board members are the ones that are entrusted by the ratepayers to provide that oversight. So that's the role I see. The second part of the question was, how do you see yourself advancing them? I don't. Myself is nothing. I would be one of 5 members on the board. That's a 5-member team. The majority carries the day. We will discuss things. We will make decisions as a board. But I don't personally advance anything. The district advances things. So with that, I do have a couple of closing thoughts. I know it's I'm new to you folks, and I'm not new to Tahoe, but I'm new to you. But I would like you to consider that this appointment gives you a 5-month free trial period where I think the ratepayers, the board, can experiment with somebody for a limited time. You're not stuck with them for 4 years. So it does give you a nice opportunity to really try somebody out. I will commit to not taking the health insurance for this period. We'll save the ratepayers a little bit of money there. So So really, it's 5 months ago to try me out, and perhaps I can serve that role on more of a technical role that has been sadly vacated by Mr. Jones' passing. So with that, if there are any questions, board members, I'll entertain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Melanie, before you jump in, I'd just like to say that I'm extremely impressed with the quality of you 8 folks that applied for this, and it's a shame that we could only pick one of you. But the good news is there are 3 seats up for election in 5 short months, as you said. So whoever gets picked out of this process, I'd like the rest of you to think about that, because I think I didn't see a single person who would make a good board member here.
I couldn't agree more. I'm in awe of all of you.
I'm glad Kelly and I didn't have to do that. We just ran for election. I don't think I could have done as well as you guys did. So Melanie, take it away.
Yeah, okay, so that concludes the actual interview portion. It's really up to the board if they'd like to take a break or if you want to move right into taking a valid vote.
Everybody okay with moving on, or does anyone want a break?
I'm good with voting.
Yeah, Nick tried to jump at the bit here,
Yeah.
so let's go.
And I've been hearing from Chris, ready to vote. So I will go ahead and ask that the board members submit their ballots. This time, Chris, Randy, and Kelly have handwritten ballots in front of them with all the candidate names. And then I'll be receiving via email and text votes from the other 2 board members. So pass those my way. I will tally them up. And Chris and Nick, go ahead and submit your votes.
I just sent my email.
Okay, got it. And I have Chris Supplement's vote. Okay, so it looks like we do have a majority vote. It is not unanimous, but it is a majority, which should be able to stand. So we have 3 votes for Dwayne Wallace and 1 vote for Jennifer Peterson. So with that, we are welcome to entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that we appoint Dwayne Wallace to the vacant seat on the board.
I will second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Director, let's see, I don't have my thing up here. It's queued in as a matter of fact, but okay, Director Cephalou. Texting me. We'll move on to President Vogelstein.
Yes.
Director Sheehan.
Yes.
Director Exline.
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll go back to Cephalou, which I have a yes, so that passes unanimously. Here we go, and I'll show that out there on the screen. Okay, so we have a new board member, Director Wallace.
Well, thank you all again. I really appreciate it. And we will adjourn this meeting.